Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Business Today, your one-stop shop of all matters business. And right about now, we're going to delve into some of the key aspects that characterize President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign on matters real estate and the property market. Notable to many Kenyans is the rollout of the Ardhi Sasa platform, which was geared towards making it easier for Kenyans to be able to get their title deeds as well as having more accountability on matters land. We now have a property expert and also the CEO for Username Investments, Mr. Ruben Kimani. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Abby. Glad to be back.
Looking sharp as always. And as you look sharp, how would you rate the outgoing regime when it comes to the property market? Has the sector witnessed growth, stagnation, or it was pure plunder?
Thank you, Abby. I'm glad to be back, saying hi to everyone. You're also very sharp. Thank you for the compliment. Looking at the property market over the last, say, 5 to 10 years, it is obvious we have experienced growth. It's actually one of the contributors to the GDP, about 15 to 20% or thereabout, the last time I checked. This guy, we have experienced growth. There are many factors that I would say that have made this growth possible. Of course, infrastructure, urbanization, population growth that has been growing every year by 1 million people. There are many factors. Key, I think, is infrastructure.
All right. Speaking about growth, in equal measure, we've also seen quite a number of initiatives that were geared towards spurring demand for real estate. And this, we saw the Big Four agenda, one of them being housing. For housing to happen, developers have to play a role in this. And at the same time, as developers play a role in this, the land sellers are literally part of the stakeholders. Perhaps give us a sense of assessment, really. How did the affordable housing scheme, how did it benefit land sellers like yourselves? At the same time, what are some of the gaps that you see that we can do better moving forward?
Affordable housing, I would say it was a great idea, 500,000 houses in 5 years. I knew it was a target that was almost impossible to hit. But I used to say, even if they were to do out of 500,000, like 50,000 units, that would fundamentally change our market. But looking at we are real estate focusing on affordable land, we are also in affordable housing. Looking at how we have benefited, especially by that agenda, I think the key thing, especially if it's connected, is the infrastructure. Real estate investments and development, they breathe infrastructure as one of the key factors that can help, because people have more options on where they can build residential houses, where they can do factories, ease of movement. I've been going around the city, especially the bypass. I passed through Western Bypass, I think, less than a week ago, and I marveled at how easy is it to move from one area to another. If I was selling land there, I would create a huge estate. If infrastructure is related to the affordable housing program, it would be a great plus. But the affordable housing program by itself, I would give it maybe, because they were focusing on, they were targeting 500,000, I would give it maybe 20%. In terms of, they have built, I think, 9,000 houses, according to the PS. Looking at the way it has affected us, I don't think they have been so much significant in our land business, because we do affordable property. The key thing for us is a few things. This is infrastructure. There's also a matter to do with taxes and the general perspective about the economy. If the economy is doing well, most people are able to afford the units that we sell as a real estate company.
And you bring up a very important point that only 20% was sort of realized. By this you mean the trickle-down effect to land sellers like yourselves and others. But I'd like to get your thoughts, especially looking at, we've seen counties also coming very strongly. as the demand for land shoots up, the demand for houses. How do you feel this was handled by county governments, of course with oversight from the national government?
I think coming from an experience being in this industry for some time now, one of the biggest counties we are in is Nakuru. We are so big there. And also looking at the way we have been handled. Of course, I think not much has changed in my own perspective, experience, in terms of giving us incentive for us to be able to move faster. Are we looking at maybe how fast we can be able to process our document? I know that is a national government. Are we looking at specific areas where they can introduce and maybe do some basic infrastructure from a county level?
Yeah.
If you look at like a county like Nakuru, for example, where you have a lot of investment, maybe there are areas, I look at 20-kilometer radius, for example. The areas maybe they can factor in where people can be able to build their own houses. They go there, they do. I've seen like Machakos, they have done tarmacs in a place you have done projects. Do tarmacs inside there and provide basic infrastructure. There are places where we don't have like sewerage, for example. If we had sewerage, the cost of the units we sell, because we sell affordable units, for you to build your own house, they will be way cheaper. I think those are some of the things I look at. Target an area within a county that is so near the city, for example. Put basic infrastructure, what county can be able to do. Then ensure the prices of land there goes down. Most people will come and build their own houses there. Of course, I've not seen so much change, if you ask me. But devolution, of course, has helped because there is more focus. There are people who want to settle, especially in a city like Nakuru is now a city. Yes. There are places people want to settle in because of devolution. Hospitals are coming, the county headquarters, services are closer to the people. You don't need to come to the city. So there's an overall effect of devolution. But the key things that can help people build their own homes, especially in those counties, I cannot say we have done so much.
All right. Speaking about devolution, we've also seen a number of developers coming out to say the taxes, the levies that are being loaded on them has really affected the cost of doing business. And this sadly has to be passed on to the buyers. How has been the experience for you, especially when you look at the different requirements when it comes to either construction or when it comes to acquisition of land?
Let me start by saying the cost of land, one of the misses I would say in terms of what the government has done for over the last 5 to 10 years is the cost of land. The cost of land is very high. The reason we sell the units the way we sell them is because of the cost of land, what we buy them for. Why is it high? Because of the powers of supply and demand. Most places don't have very good infrastructure. So people have to go to Syokimau, Kitengela, and those satellite towns like Gong, where you can find tarmacs, electricity, water, and such. So there's a lot of demand, but the supply of usable land is very little. If you also look at the cost of construction material, I was checking, it cost between 33,000 shillings to 72,000 to construct 1 square meter of space, which is extremely expensive. You have to achieve affordable housing. One of the things I believe the government would have done is to look at this issue of affordable housing in all aspects. I know they have done a bit. I have to give them credit for that. But also look at those particular taxes. There are three building materials you use. You use cement, you use steel, and what else? I think the other thing is more or less labor. Those things, you look at it strategically. Maybe reduce the taxes on a particular item like steel, for example, and make the construction go down. Otherwise, it's so hard for us developers to achieve affordable housing. I want to do business. I want to make a profit. I want to grow my business. How can I do that when the profit margin is extremely little or less? If you make it lucrative for private developers, you'll achieve the 500,000 in no time.
Interesting. And would you say developers and land sellers like yourselves, when you see the cost of land shooting to very exorbitant figures, what impact has this had, especially on uptake of property, and what, in your view, do we need to do really, especially on bringing down the cost of land? Because there's a lot of speculation that was very common under President Kenyatta's reign, because the government was rolling out roads in different parts of the country. They are constructing special economic zones. There was the SGR to Naivasha, Suswa, and all this triggered the speculators, in quotes, to cash in. And yet people have bought land in places that are literally out there in the bush, where the price they purchased versus the value, they cannot match.
They cannot match. Yeah. One of the things that have been a challenge to us as developers, as a username investment, for example, is to provide something that we call selected real estate. Something, in basic terms, to give you something that is of value, usable land. Are you using it for building your family a home? Are you using it for investment? There are various. Are you using it for farming? So land has to be productive. That is for land to be usable, it has to be productive. That's one of the biggest challenges. So you'll find people going to places where you cannot find one of the uses of land, as I'm saying. So one of the things that I think we can do is the power of demand and supply. If you have some good supply of valuable land most people can use, the prices will go down. How do you do that? You open up as many areas as possible. That's why the infrastructure has been key. I think we can do more of that. One person who believes we need infrastructure for us to be able to open up places where you can build schools, hospital, places where people can live. If you open it up, in my own view, you increase supply. What happens? The demand somehow goes down, the prices also goes down. Otherwise, people will always look for places with universities, with SGR, because those are the places where you can be able to access. So those, the number of places where you can do that, the number of locations where you can productively use land are not many. And that's why the prices have to keep shooting up. Number two, there's also the factor of Kenyans. We are people who really like land. I've visited various African countries, and I can tell you, we use land as an investment. That's something that we cannot change so fast. It's also a good thing, because the more the people own productive land and they make use of it, the economy grows. It's not such a bad thing, but Kenyans has a high appetite for real estate and land, something that I can't do anything about. But
this
for me, just increase the supply. This wasn't
the case 30 years ago.
The demand goes down, the prices goes down. Yes.
The demand for land has not been really in the DNA of many Kenyans, but we've seen asset classes such as land being one of the most popular, because there is a quick return on investment.
Yes.
Purchase land, say at 200,000, after 4 or 5 years, a road is put up, and the same piece of land is sold for $1 million, $2 million bob, and yet there's no proper zoning that can shield buyers, because not everybody will be able to afford it at that price.
That is very true, and actually we have been discussing with some friends here and there in the sector, and sometimes you ask yourself, what happened to this piece of property for the prices to shoot like 5 times? You cannot explain, but in some places it makes a lot of sense. For us, we always work with land we think has value. You see, you can take a piece of property, you add value to it. The infrastructure that was missing, you come and put it up. Basically, you convert a piece of useless property to something that can be used, either as a home for agriculture and for such kind of purposes. That's how you give it some value. But some pieces of property, there is no tarmac, it is very far from civilization or from the city. That one I agree. But what we actually do ourselves, and some serious developers, they come to an area where the value was not there. Then they give that land some form of value by value addition and stuff like that, and make it usable for someone who want to build their own house. I will tell you, you'll find that, and we have done this in our organization. I can tell most people are willing to pay a dime if they get a place where they can build their own home. They are willing to take loans, they are willing to save for many years to give you that money so that they can meet that need. So the need is there. Like I keep saying, for me, I think if you are to increase the supply by expanding our towns, expanding our cities via infrastructure, that's the way we are going to ensure the prices come down for land. Number two, we also have to contend with the fact that we have huge parcels of land across, especially in major towns. You'll go along this road and find a huge piece. Then you are wondering, somebody is planting maize or trees in a place where people can be able to settle. I think we also need to look at the way land is being used. During the Kibaki regime, I think there's a time they say they'll tax any idle land. Maybe we need to look at all the pieces of land that we have available for various uses, be it residential, commercial, agriculture, and ensure people use them for that purpose. Because you'll find land near the city and it is very prime. I wish I could get it. I can actually convert it to a huge city, something that is of value to the country. We also need to look at that, maybe put some taxes if need be for some, with some good measure. Right. There must be some moderation in that, because if I say that, my friends in the sector will beat me because of that. But you also have to ensure land is available for its proper use. And that's what we try to do. We take some land somewhere which you not have looked at it twice. Then we come, we fence it, we do the roads, we do sanitation, we plant trees, we do very nice features. Then all of a sudden, the land is very attractive and usable for people, and people are willing to pay for it. That is one of the reasons why you find land is seriously expensive in a country like Kenya.
All right. And I'd like to just shift our attention now. We focus on matters dealing with land. And my director, there's a clip we have around President Kenyatta issuing title deeds. And this has, of course, elicited a lot of reactions. And let's now just take a quick look at that. President Kenyatta yesterday was in Kiambu County, where he issued several title deeds. And all this also points to the fact that Mr. Kimani raising it here, that Kenyans have a big affinity for land as opposed to sticking to different aspects in terms of various assets that one can invest in. Perhaps I'd like to get your quick thoughts on let's listen to the CS on that front first. Sorry for that.
Your Excellency, through your national titling program, umetusaidia kwa sekta yetu na wananchi wa Kenya. Sasa tuko karibu title milioni 12 Kenya, na kwa hizo milioni 12, milioni 6, Your Excellency, zimepeanwa na administration yako kwa miaka 9 tu, Your Excellency.
Kenya ni ya Wakenya, na kama Wakenya hawajisikii wanatosheleka pahali walipo, hatuwezi kuwa na amani. Na ukiwa na mtu ambaye anaona haya, ako ndani ya serikali, hataki kuyatambua mambo ya ukweli, lakini kuna huyo mzee ambaye anatambua ya kwamba injustice to any citizen is a recipe for disaster, na anataka tuwe na hiyo amani.
All right, let's take you back. Ruben, I'd like to hear your thoughts, especially on the land reforms. We've had a very nasty past as a country. When you look at land ownership, there's been also fraud in the land business, where Kenyans, unsuspecting Kenyans, have lost millions in investments. Perhaps, how did the Kenyatta administration perform when it comes to sanitizing the ghosts that have continued to slay the Ardhi house?
I think it's very hard to give like a score if I was to do that. I think I would focus more on the hits and the misses. Where did they do well, where they did not do well, in my own experience, because I've been in the sector. Yeah. In terms of land reforms, I think in 2013 they came with a lot of promises, which is good enough, and they have really tried. There are things they have done well. there are registration that have taken place, like Land Registration Act of 2012. There's also Sectional Properties Act. I think I've covered that in the past. And now, looking at the key installation like Al Disasa, for example, they have given 6 million titles. That is not a small matter. Factoring that you have done 12 million from 2013, you have done 6 million. It's not a joke. That is almost half of the titles that are given. And if titles are given, developers like us are able to go to that area. We get properties that we can buy. One of the things we don't do as user investment, we don't buy land that does not have a title deed. So there are areas where we cannot develop. Why? There are no title deeds in that. So for me, that is a big thing, if you ask me. Number 2, doing those registration. But they also misses, like it has taken so long, especially for those registration to come in effect. The other day they were doing some title conversion in Nairobi County. I believe they are going to spread it all over the country. That is important, so that you don't have so many registration that are governing the land in this country. So that is a miss for me. Number 2, Addis Asa itself has taken too long. I was here, I think, I don't know how many months or almost a year ago, talking about the same thing.
I remember.
I was very, very excited.
Early this year.
Early this year.
Yeah.
I was very excited because now, just like the way we transfer our vehicles in a day or two, we can do the same for land. But it has taken so long. A few days ago in the newspaper, I think Daily Nation, they were talking about 100 billion worth of property not being, developers and business people are not able to transact land worth, properties worth 100 billion. She was talking about, the cabinet secretary was talking about 100,000 searches that were being released, I think, barely a week ago. For me, I actually have some business that is stuck as I speak. Have been stuck with my lawyer for months now because of Al Disasa. I think that's a miss. It should not take so long for a system to be able to work. If they're able to fix that, I'm an IT person. It takes time for a system to be stable, but this one has taken way longer. If I look at the misses in the sector. In terms of fraud, somebody asked me yesterday, what is the biggest risk in your business? And it is fraud in the real estate sector. It has reduced to some extent. We have learned how to survive in that ecosystem ourselves. We do a lot of due diligence, by the way. But in a normal functioning system, we should not do all that. A search should be enough.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that is a miss. We have not been able to eliminate the rampant fraud in the real estate sector. That's something that might even take another one government or even 2 governments for them to be able to uproot that. I would call it cancer, because it affects our business to a large extent. If you are Kenyan out there, most likely you have suffered some loss. Maybe you paid someone for land, maybe the title was fake or something of the sort. For me, that one is a serious problem. If somebody was to come and uproot it from the roots, I think it would work so well. For me, that is a miss. But in terms of improvement, I think they have done more than they have failed.
All right. Many thanks indeed, Ruben Kimani, for your candid analysis and just how the Kenyatta administration fared on when it comes to the property market and the outlook. The road ahead still looks bumpy, according to Mr. Kimani, saying that the digitization of the land system remains a vital pillar towards unlocking the potential that the sector has. Well, that has been business today. It's been a pleasure bringing you the show. For now, that's why we wrap it up. Until tomorrow, keep safe and keep warm. My name is Abiagina. Have a lovely afternoon.